Hi dears, how are you all? Hope you all are fine at home. So from our previous class, we have learned about sentences. Right? What do you mean by sentence? Yes, a group of words that is giving a complete sense is called a sentence. So today we are going to learn something more about sentences that are naming and telling parts. Now look at here. Sia is a beautiful girl. So here what is the naming word in this sentence? Right, Sia. Sia is a naming word. So it is a naming part. Then what about its remaining part? Is a beautiful girl. It is telling something about Sia. Means this part, this remaining part, giving some information about Sia. This is called a telling part. So now let's make some sentences by using these naming part and telling part with the help of some paper sheets.
Yes, dears, these are the paper slips. By putting two paper slips together, we will make a sentence. Okay, so for this, I'll take one naming word like Psalm. Psalm. Then for this naming word, which one is suitable among these sentences? Right, Sam is scared of the dark corridor. Then, ghost. Ghost live under the bed. Then, let's take another naming word like monsters. Monsters have sharp teeth. Then, big brown bears are dangerous. So dears, by using these paper sheets, we have made some sentences like Sam is scared of the dark corridor, ghosts live under the bed, monsters have sharp teeth, and big brown bears are dangerous. Thank you.
So dears, just now in that activity, we have put two slips together and we have made some sentences. Which sentences did we get? Yes, we get these sentences. Sam is scared of the dark corridor, ghosts live under the bed, and monsters have sharp teeth, and big brown bears are dangerous. Now tell me, what is the naming part in this sentence? Sam is scared of the dark corridor. Right, this Sam is the naming part of this sentence, and here ghost live under the bed. What is the naming word? Naming part of this sentence. Right, this ghost. And monsters have sharp teeth. Right. This is the naming part of this sentence, and big brown bears are dangerous. So here this is the naming part of this sentence. And the remaining word, these remaining words are the telling part of these sentences. Means these all parts are telling something about this naming part. Like Sam is scared of the dark corridor. This is scared of the dark corridor. It is telling about this Psalm. So here Psalm is a naming part. Right. Now let's make some sentences from the story Scary Psalm, and you'll find out the naming part and telling part of those sentences. Then tell me, what do you know about Psalm? Tell me something about him, something about Psalm. Right. Here we got this information about Sam. Sam was scared of the dark corridor. Sam wanted to eat the first piece of cake, and Sam likes to draw, and Sam has a brother named Sid. So all these sentences we have written from the story Scary Sam. Now let's find out the naming part and telling part of these sentences. See, Sam was scared. The first sentence, what is the naming part? Which is the naming part of this sentence? Right, the Psalm is the naming part of this sentence. And this remaining part, these words are telling something about Psalm. Then here, Psalm again wanted to eat the first piece of cake. So this part, it is telling something about Psalm. Then here, Psalm has a brother named Sid. So here, the naming part, it is Psalm, and he has a brother named Sid, and Sam likes to draw. So here too, Sam is the naming part and likes to draw. It is telling something about Sam. Right. So, okay, now tell me, who is the sentences about, these all sentences? Right, these all sentences are about Psalm. Psalm is the naming word. Psalm is the naming part in all these sentences, and this rest of the word, these remaining parts, it is the telling part. Then what is the common thing that you can find in all these sentences? What is the common thing? Yes, here we can see these all naming part. These are actually naming words. So all the naming parts is having a naming word. And what about the telling part? Right, it is having a doing word like was, has, wanted, likes. So all the telling part, that is having a doing word. And also these naming part usually we used at the beginning of the sentence. Right. So now let's move on to our workbook. S2, naming and telling parts. Question number 1, circle the naming parts and underline the telling parts in the sentences. What will you do here? Right, you will circle the naming parts and underline the telling parts in the given sentence. Like A, Sam is a boy. So Sam is a naming word. It is a naming part. So it is circled. Then is a boy. The remaining part, the remaining words, it is telling about Sam. So it is underlined. Then B, Sam likes to draw. Which is the naming part? Right, Sam. Then likes to draw. It is the telling part. Then scary monsters dance in the park. So here scary monsters, that is the naming part, and dance in the dark, that is the telling part. Sam wants to eat cake. Sam wants to eat cake. It is the telling part. Then E, the children like chocolate. The children, naming part, and like chocolates, telling part. Then Sam is scared of the dark corridor. No doubt, Sam, it is a naming part, and is scared of the dark corridor. It is a telling part. Then question number 2, match the naming parts to the telling parts. So here you will match the naming parts with their correct telling parts. So the boys, you, Ritu and I. So which one is matching with the boys? The boys, am eating my dinner. Is there anything wrong? Right, it is not a complete sentence. Then the boys have their books. The boys are my best friend, or the boys likes to dance. Right. What can be? Think about it. Yes, the boys have their books, and you are my best friends. So this is how you can complete these question number 2. And 3, add a naming part or telling part to each group of words to make sentences. So here you have to add a naming part or a telling part to the group of words to make the sentence. A, I dash. Yes, I like to eat ice cream, or I am a dancer, or this way you can add any naming part or telling part to these given blanks to change these words into its sentence form. Okay, then let's move on to our practice questions, page number 65. Question number 1, circle the naming part and underline the telling part in each sentence. It's like from our workbook. Then 2, add a telling part to each of the following naming parts. So here what you will do, right here, two short words are given. So you have to add a telling part to these words to make sentence. Like Ram is a nice boy, or with they are playing and all. You can add any telling part to these words to make a sentence form. So dears, these are the 2 questions that you have to do from today's class. Hope you all have understood these things. So from today's class, we have learned about naming part and telling part. And also we have learned how to identify these naming and telling parts in a sentence. These naming parts, it is having a naming word, and also it is usually used at the beginning of the sentence. And this telling part, it is telling something about the naming part, and also it is having the action word. So these all are for today's class. So I'll meet in the next class. Thank you.